You are listening to the audio portion of the QB Power Hour webinar series. The QB Power Hour is a free bi-weekly webinar series for accounting professionals presented by Michelle Long and Dan DeLong, who are very passionate about the industry, QuickBooks, and apps that integrate with QuickBooks. You can find out all the details about the webinar series at qbpowerhour.com. So without further ado, here's Michelle and Dan.
So welcome to another QB Power Hour. Today we're going to be talking about adding AP as a service, and we'll have a special guest. Our friends at Relay will be joining us today. And Michelle, why don't you introduce a person that needs no introduction, but we're going to introduce you anyway. Oh, you got muted.
I'm sorry, everybody. I got myself muted so you don't hear the puppy barking in the background. I'm Michelle Long, CPA with an MBA in entrepreneurship, owner of Long for Success, and very glad to have you all joining us. And I was just realizing the other day, I've been a trainer for Intuit for 14 years now. So I really enjoy that. Glad to have you all joining us today, along with Yoseph and Relay.
Oops, I hit the wrong button. Yes, my name is Dan DeLong, owner of Dan With. Worked at Intuit nearly for 18 years, co-hosting the Power Hour and the Workshop Wednesdays, and I'm chief content creator at Schoolofbookkeeping.com and tech editor for QBO for Dummies. So I'm the can you do it guy. Michelle is the should you do it girl. All right. And some details about the QB Power Hour webinar. Every other Tuesday at noon Eastern Time. And we finally got the QB Power Hour reunion coming up next time, which will be on the 3rd of August. We'll be diving into the advanced feature deep dive with reporting enhancements. So Hector's really anxious to be joining us here and talk about the reporting enhancements in QBO Advanced. We'll continue our series with the niche nuances. Gita Faust will be joining us for real estate flips. And we'll have Money Thumb come on at the end of August, making a statement. No, you won't be actually making a statement, but you'll be, or a bank statement, but you'll be making a statement with your clients using Money Thumb. So we have the QuickBooks tips and what to do, some marketing as well. And of course, you have the links there about the PDFs of all the handouts, as well as the recordings and the podcast. So today we'll be talking with Relay, friends of the show, I guess we'll call it. Yoseph is this is your third time joining us here, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. So let's talk. Do we have a bio slide for you? I think I missed. Or there it is. Okay.
Cool. Thank you so much for having us. And we're such a big fan. Well, we're such big fans of both of you and QB Power Hour and the influence it's had on the community. I know it's such a great resource, and that's why we love to come back and really engage with the community. For those that don't know me, and hopefully that's most of you. I don't know. I feel weird saying that, but I've kind of been kicking around the accounting tech community for a while. I was early at HubDoc, and prior to that, I was at Wave. I love working with accountants and bookkeepers and their clients. I think they're some of the most dynamic, passionate people. And really, when people talk about like clients or customers coming first, I think there are a few professions that embody that as heavily as all of you. So it's a really great honor to continue to work with you all. If you're not familiar with Relay, it's basically banking designed with you and your clients in mind. Think about all the things you hate about your client's banking, and then think about what the opposite of that would be. And that is Relay. And we'll talk a little bit about that, but so excited to talk about offering AP as a service with you all today.
Well, and Yosef, on the banking aspect, I might just add in there, Dan, before he sold his house and went on the road, he was in one state, I'm in another state, and, we're joining forces with QB Power Hour, and we got to open a bank account, and, you have to sign a signature card, and you have to do this and that to do all that. And Dan and I were like, well, what bank are we going to get that we have at both locations and yada, yada. Long story short, using Relay has been perfect for us. It's made it very easy for us to collaborate from different states. And I know, Dan, you just had an incident come up as well with what are your other endeavors that you're doing? Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so as many of you know, I'm involved with School of Bookkeeping, and if you haven't been aware, Eric Greenspan, who started School of Bookkeeping, he passed away really unexpectedly a couple weeks ago, heart issue. And he was very entrenched, I guess is the best way to describe it, with the things dealing with School of Bookkeeping. And so a lot of the banking information was under his name and things like that. So we had to kind of separate that, and we had to do it pretty quickly. And Relay came to the rescue for that, because we had to change a lot of the billing of the different apps and things that were under his, you know, the account and whatnot. And you know, again, there's 3 of us in 3 different states, so we were easily able to set up a new account, and then I didn't even know that you guys offered a virtual debit card, because some of the billing information required a card, and some of it we could use, you know, the bank routing and account information, but some you didn't. And so I was just feeling, oh man, I got to wait until a card shows up. But then there was an option there for a virtual debit card, so I could just do it instantly. Creates the debit card number, you know, and you just view it right there. See, we got a CSV file, or I'm sorry,
CVV.
Yeah, the security code, you know,
the little code, yeah.
that you can see right there. Copy and paste it. It was perfect. I mean, that was amazing. I was delighted. And from a bank, you don't get delighting.
Yeah,
that's true.
Like hearing these stories, it makes me think of, you know, having your QuickBooks desktop in a server in your office, right? It's like, I have to be here to be able to work on the file, but now you can be anywhere and, you know, work on QuickBooks with QuickBooks Online. And it's a similar transition from like traditional banking to digital banking. And you can see like how exciting it is to be able to be freed from some of the traditional limitations.
Yeah, it's liberating. You never say liberating and bank in the same sentence. But
unless you just pulled off a heist, maybe.
Right. Exactly. All right, so let's kind of go over our agenda here today. You know, we'll talk a little bit in real high level on what is accounts payable, and kind of the state of accounts payable in the small business community, and some barriers that come up with offering accounts payable services, and some of the future paths with accounts payable. And then Yoseph is going to walk through just what their service and offerings, what you can do in Relay itself, and then a Q&A at the end. And you know, who knows, we may run over time here, but you know, how do you offer AP services to your clients? You know, how do you build that into your suite of services and approach customers or clients about that? All right, so let's start off first with a poll. What version of QuickBooks are you using? Go. So it's QuickBooks Online or desktop or both, or maybe using something else. So there was a question here, Yoseph, and maybe you can answer that. Is Relay in Canada, or is it just US based only?
It's anyone with a US entity. So you could be, you know, founders who are based in Canada and you have a US organization, like an LLC or a corporation or whatever it is. We can support you, but yeah, you do need that US entity.
Yes and no. You can be in Canada, but you just need a US based entity.
Exactly.
A follow-up to that is, will it come to Canada?
This is a great question. This is the great question. It will. I think it's a question of when. We were hoping for this year, but it's obviously not panning out. So I think it's something we're going to look at next year.
And then Vanessa wanted to know, does the digital banking work for government contracts?
Well, so underneath the covers, we work with a financial institution called Evolve Bank and Trust. They're FDIC insured. They've been around for 100 years. They have $500 million in assets. So our accounts work exactly like a traditional checking account. So if your traditional checking account works with those government contracts, there would be no issues.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. go ahead and end the poll, share the results. Most of the folks are using both QuickBooks Online and desktop. We're going to talk about mostly, how Relay works with QuickBooks Online, because it's in that online space. So just be aware of that. All right, go ahead and move on. I have too many windows open, so I can't even read the slides. So there will be a, we do record everything for the QB Power Hour, and we'll make that available on the QB Power Hour website. We were discussing yesterday, we need a chapter for all the Relay webinars that you guys have joined us with. But we will have everything that Relay has done on one page. So if you want to watch the prior ones for that Yoseph has joined us for, you can do that. Feel free to ask any questions. There will be Q&A at the end. If you have a specific question, please do that in the Q&A portion of Zoom. We do have a representative from Relay as well, being able to answer Relay related questions in the Q&A, and it'd be easier to address those if they're in the Q&A rather than the chat. And then we're going to post those resources, links to resources in the chat itself. All right.
And I just posted the link to their landing page with the previous webinars that we've done, and then the recording from this one will be out there later this afternoon as well.
Today. Mm-hmm. So, Michelle, what is accounts payable? let's start there.
It is a blessing or a curse, depending on who's looking at it. So if you're the small business owner, let's just say like of a restaurant, and you have a bajillion invoices from your vendors and suppliers, and you've got to pay all these accounts payable, and you want to maximize, and wait and pay them at the end, or take advantage of discounts or whatever. As a small business owner trying to run a restaurant, for example, it's a curse because there's so much involved. And, I remember I was mentioning to Yosef back in the day when I walked through snow up to here 5 miles, when I was doing accounts payable the old fashioned way, I would have to drive around, go, like I had, a guy that had a couple sandwich shops, and pick up the invoices from all the vendors and suppliers, take them home, process and print all the checks and everything, get them all paper clipped together and all that, go in, have the owner sign them, and then mail them. I mean, it was such an inconvenience and time consuming process that I hated doing accounts payable. Now with things like Relay and the apps where you can do all this online and automate it and have the approval process online, now it's a blessing, and it's a very lucrative service that we as accounting professionals can provide, because the owner sees it as a very time consuming curse, that I got to do all these payables. So it's a real blessing for us now to have something like Relay to make it efficient for us to have it as a profitable service that we're offering to our clients. So
yeah, I love this slide, because you see all the windy roads, basically all the roads that you used to drive to and from, back and forth, but really it's breaking it down. And I remember getting interviewed at Intuit, and they asked that question, what is accounts payable? And I knew nothing about what it was, and I did the cardinal sin of repeating the definition in the answer. Like, well, it's an account that you pay, right? But yeah, I mean, it's really just, I mean, as far as the QuickBooks is concerned, it's really an account that accounts for the passage of time between the time that you have received a bill. And I'll use the QuickBooks terminology as opposed to invoicing, because I tend to use those as invoices for customers, bills for vendors. But the time that you received a bill to the time that you have actually pay it, that's what accounts payable does inside of QuickBooks. But there's that whole, I mean, that could be a whole team inside of a business, right, Michelle?
Mm-hmm. Oh yes, yeah. Yeah, big companies will have a whole AP department. I mean, they've got a whole department of people processing all of these bills that need to be paid. And, it's very important when there's a discount available to try to take advantage of the discount, to have the right approvals on things, especially if it's a nonprofit organization, they may require, somebody on the board to approve certain things and certain things over a certain amount. And sometimes if you're reimbursing people, you got to worry about the receipts for those reimbursements. And so it can get very complex. And I think one of the things that's really important for us as accountants and bookkeepers is having that approval process, because we want the client to approve things to protect us from a liability standpoint. Because if you can choose who gets paid for a business, like with accounts payable, let's say that business is not paying their payroll taxes. Because you could authorize the payments and indicate who gets paid when, you could be held 100% liable for unpaid payroll taxes, even though I'm just the bookkeeper, I'm just the accountant. So that's why we really want our clients approving who's getting paid and approving these bill payments, to help protect us from that. And so that's one of the things I know, everybody asks, well, why can't I just use the free bill pay with me, Leo, in QuickBooks Online? Well, and that's one of the reasons I think that's real important. And Yosef, you can add to some of the other differences, why Relay is so much better and has so many better other features for us. I know you'll mention that kind of throughout the session today, probably.
I hope so. Yeah, I think that's exactly it, right? Like, you look at the slide before and it was like these 4 neat boxes of like receiving it, processing, approvals, and then payments. And then the reality is this like almost disaster zone of complexity. The squiggly lines really capture how messy it is. But I think we've all either experienced or seen the challenges, right? Like receiving bills or invoices in a grocery bag. I know I've heard a story of one advisor who received a grocery bag full of like receipts and invoices. Some had to be paid, some not. And there was like gum in there. And horrible, right? And in a digital world, these are just things that you don't have to contend with. And so you don't have to do the manual data entry. You don't have to risk errors. You don't have to take on that huge liability that you could be taking on. And you can make payments faster, right? So like when you're using a solution like Relay, you can make same day or next day payments to vendors, and you can do it for both businesses and individuals, right? So not only do you get like multi-stage approvals, you're getting faster payments, more secure, and you're reducing your liability. And so anyway, sorry, I didn't want to go on a Relay sales pitch, but that's what we'll get into.
All right.
Cool.
So,
should we change over slides? Would that be?
Yeah, that would probably be easier because I'm crippled with one monitor.
Sounds good.
Let me go ahead and stop sharing, and then that way you can pick up.
All right, seamless, absolutely.
Yeah, boom,
boom, nailed it. Okay,
it's like you're part of the show already.
I know. Just add me as the host, like one of the hosts. Michelle, Dan, and Yosef. It doesn't quite have the same ring to it. All right, great. So, I think the thing that people don't consider is like how strategic the AP process is for your clients' businesses. So number one is like actually like visibility on their finances. Do they actually understand how healthy their business is? Even if you're doing monthly bookkeeping with your clients, they're getting perhaps a report 10 business days or 5 business days after the end of the month. But they're making decisions about their business and their cash flow every day, or once a week or whatever it is. And so they're doing that based on the bank balance that's available. But the bank balance that's available, as we all know, is almost like an illusion, right? You could have $100,000 in that bank account, but perhaps you have $60,000 worth of suppliers to pay in the next week or so. So you don't really have 100,000. So it is super strategic for your clients to actually understand how healthy is their business. 2 is like how reputable is their business in the context of their vendors, right? Are they paying on time? I think we've all been paid late or paid someone late, right? At one point or another. It doesn't feel good on either side. And the people that pay us on time and do it consistently are the people that we prioritize. And so if you are a business, and I think we've all kind of seen versions of this challenge in the last 3 or 4 months, as we've seen kind of prices spike on or supplies kind of be limited in this kind of like strange environment that we're in. And I guarantee that those businesses that had great reputations with their vendors got taken care of first. And then 3 is like, what is actually the cost of running your business or your clients running their business in the way that we just had on that last slide? Like, you can think about the number of hours, the number of errors, the number of pieces of paper pushed around. And we'll talk about the actual cost to process an invoice, but you're talking about $10 plus per invoice. I think the real number for SMB is actually about like $15 to $20. So it is very expensive.
Yeah, and those 3 things have really just kind of put that into perspective. My wife is, she's working in the other room, and she works for Dun & Bradstreet. I mean, that relationships, how reputable that business is the entire their entire industry is tracking and keeping track of how reputable a business is in paying their bills on time. And that's something that you want to know if you're going to be doing business with a business like that. If I send them, one person's bill is another person's invoice, right? I'd love to know that I'm going to be getting paid on that.
Absolutely. And that's why, like, most business owners actually view AP as like very or exceptionally valuable. And after 2020, I think we all want to put 2020 behind us, but after 2020, we can see the level of importance increase kind of over the years, because they're understanding the value of actually like automating their back office and streamlining it, because it gives them more confidence, which is really your goal as an advisor. So what is the state of SMB accounts payable? But we have a poll. So why don't we let's launch this poll, and then let's talk about the state of accounts payable.
Yeah. So that poll there. How many monthly clients are you currently working with?
Yoseph, I love that statistic. Accountants and bookkeepers, we always love the numbers and stuff. So I love seeing that the owners do realize the value of accounts payable and how important it is, especially because if they've tried to do it on their own, things fall through the cracks, and then they're getting late fees, or somebody's going to cut them off because they're not getting it paid on time. And, so I'm glad to see that they recognize the value of that, up to 60%. I think that's pretty good. Because it is a very valuable service that we can provide for the clients with minimal time and energy once you've got everything set up.
Yeah, I think that's it, right? Like, if you're thinking about, hey, I offer this set of services today, right, to 10 clients, 50 clients, 100 clients, 1,000 clients, whatever the number is. And then if you think that 2/3 of your clients, basically almost 2/3 of your clients, actually see AP as a service as exceptionally valuable, right? You have a revenue line kind of waiting for you.
Right. Well, and there's so many small businesses that have lots of accounts payable. Like if you're dealing with a restaurant or anybody in the food industry, they have to get food deliveries sometimes daily, depending on their volume and stuff. So they've got a lot of bills coming in and everything, along with any retailers or e-commerce and stuff. And so they don't have the time to deal with all of that. And so that is a very valuable service. And there's a ton of them out there, making it very a good place for us to grow our practice and to add these services on. So I'm really glad you've got great content today. So I don't want to spend too much time on the basics. So
let's go ahead and move on. So yeah, it looks like between 1 and 10 monthly clients is the size of our firms that are joining us here today.
Awesome, cool. Always good to get a pulse on kind of where people are across the spectrum. So, today what we're seeing is that like more than like 1 out of 3 small businesses actually want their accountant or bookkeeper to help with their AP and/or AR process. So these people are actually like sitting there wanting your help to make sense of this. I know as a founder of Relay, like if I could just hit the easy button and have all of our bills paid on time every time, I would 100% do it. And I'm actually working on that. But I think it's just a hugely valuable service. And the challenges that like we talked about are really that like the traditional SMB is facing like broken AP processes, right? It's still giving them poor cash flow visibilities and like diminish, financial confidence. I think, financial confidence equals business confidence. It's hurting their relationships, increasing their costs of actually like running their business. And it's not super surprising that like, this is kind of what it looks like from, a data collection perspective. Like, how are small businesses actually getting all the information from their invoices and like collecting it and dealing with it and processing it? And you're seeing like 86% of them are doing it manually. Just before we started, Michelle and I were joking about like, oh yeah, back in the day, I'd have to walk 10 miles uphill in the snow and 10 miles back. But like, that's what business owners are doing, right? It's crazy.
In the land of COVID, though, do you think that this has brought those types of things to light? Do you think it's starting to shift from what you've seen?
I think absolutely it's shifting the conversation, right? It's realizing and recognizing that technology isn't bad and that we can actually like adopt these new processes and try them for the first time. I know this is a funny random aside. My dad tried Best Buy's click and collect for the first time, like during kind of this past year. And he was like, Yoseph, this is amazing. This service that they offer. I just order it online and I pick it up. I was like, it's been there for years, right? And I think we all have a version of this in some part of our lives, personal or professional. And so it is definitely shifting. And you can contrast it with the enterprise where they're focused more on automation. They're thinking about how to streamline their business in a much deeper way. And this is the shift that we're now seeing small business owners make, where 65% of invoice data collection is actually like automated in the enterprise. It's a very different environment. And Dan, to your point on like the COVID-19, how it's, had an impact on the AP function. We're seeing this shift where people are wanting to, just like, the shifts before it from desktop-based software to really cloud software, AP is going through a once-in-a-generation change.
And I think the key stat on that slide was 3%, only 3%, less than whole milk had no impact on the AP function. Everything else at least had some impact.
Yeah, that's exactly it, right? So you're talking about 97% of businesses experiencing a change as a result of COVID-19 for their AP function. I think the value, like, it's not only just creating more revenue, which we talked about before, but it's creating more client value. It's creating more stickiness. The more services they leverage from your firm, and the more they rely on you, the more likely they are to stick around. Growing an existing client account is 6 times more valuable than just getting a new client in the door. And so the more value you can deliver, the more stickiness you can create, the more you're just going to be able to like grow your revenue from.
Can you repeat that 6 times the value? Because that was important. I loved it.
Yeah. So the value of like an existing client and growing that account is 6 times the value of just bringing in someone new. So it's better to have like a bucket without holes in it, and you can continue to fill that bucket than trying to like just put more water through and have it leak out the bottom.
So I think that's great. So those of us that have clients that, maybe you're just doing some of the basic stuff for the client, managing the downloaded transactions and reconciling or something, maybe you need to have the conversation with them of you taking over accounts payable for them, so that is a great opportunity. So I'm glad you shared that with us.
Yeah. So that's all the good stuff. I think we all agree that like offering AP would create huge value, not only for your clients, but also for your firm. But let's talk about some of the challenges that we traditionally think of when we think of offering AP. So before we do that, let's just do a quick poll and kind of figure out where you are on the journey for offering AP. Maybe you're already offering AP and AR services, only offering accounts payable, only offering accounts receivable. You're not offering either.
Well,
these polls just they're like speed bumps into your presentation. All right, I'm ready to go. Oh, there's a poll.
I think I've learned now. It's the title slide or the section slide, and then
Well, and I think one of the things, some people might be in the boat. I used to do services like accounts payable and stuff. I quit doing it, but now with the new technology and apps like Relay out there that are available to make it so much easier and more profitable now, if this is something that you've thought about in the past and you didn't do it or you quit doing it, this might be a great, because I see a third of the people are saying this is not a service we offer. You might reconsider. The technology today has made it an efficient and profitable service that we can offer. So it's worth reconsidering.
Absolutely. Like I'm guessing that 33% or 32% are folks that are trying to figure out how to do it. Right.
Could be, yes.
Yeah. And, we'll talk about some of the challenges that is traditionally faced when you're trying to launch an AP process for your clients.
All right. So speed bump over. Back on the road.
Back on the road. Love it. Cool. Yeah. So many of you are already offering perhaps both AR and AP, or only AP or only AR. And then a third of you are kind of just considering how to actually offer AP services. So here are the parts that, like, in the old world, Michelle, where you were like, hey, I don't want to do AP anymore. Here are probably the challenges that you faced. You had to lock yourself into like a labor-intensive process. You had to take on liability risks. You perhaps had to rely on expensive enterprise software. Like, was that the experience, or?
I think I might have been, yes. And a lot of it was the labor intensive process. Is the liability risk was somewhat, but for me, it was the labor intensive. I mean, it just was so time consuming. And then the inevitability of, you have to have the pre-printed checks to print them out, and oops, I printed them on plain papers and I got to do it over again, or, oh, the checks are in there backwards or upside down or whatever, Oh, it was always so labor intensive and time consuming in the old days. Now it's just so much different. Makes me want to start doing it again.
And then there was that gum inside the grocery bag.
Yeah, I didn't want to say it was Michelle's story.
I didn't have gum in the grocery bags, but I think we all have seen, just the
proverbial gum in the grocery bag.
Where you're scared to get in there and dig the stuff out.
Love it. And so, in addition to like the AP specific challenges, as a firm, you kind of face other barriers. You have to think about, like, how do you actually effectively manage the accounts payable process? So does that mean you need to hire a bunch of people to be able to like scale it? And then how do you like sell and position your AP services to actually get those clients on board, right? So we talked about a third of small business owners wanting, you to actually help them with their AP or AR. So how do you actually like sell this and position this to them so it's a successful conversation? So let's talk about the future. Oh God, I hope there's not a poll here. There's got to be a poll. No poll. Great. Cool. So there's basically two ways to offer AP. One is client-led and two is advisor-led. So client-led is you're adopting the process of your client. Advisor-led is you're defining the process and you're getting your client to follow it. And we'll talk about kind of like the pros and cons of both. So with the client-led approach, one, you don't need to pitch them. They already have a process, right? You just have to adopt it, and they'll pay you money to do it. And in some ways that might feel easier in the short term, but it's like long-term painful, is our perspective, because it is time consuming and labor intensive. And, I'm assuming you probably have more than one client if you're adding this as an additional service. So you actually have to adapt yourself and your firm to each client's processes, which is wrought with challenges.
Yeah, and then you're learning something new for them, as opposed to something that that is tried and true, and you know what you're getting when you have it your own way, or your own processes, right?
Exactly. And I think, as we saw in some of the slides earlier, the traditional SMB's AP process is perhaps not the gold standard for how you want it to operate, right? 20 plus years ago, accountants were still using perhaps a paper general ledger. I think 20 plus years ago, we've got to update that. That's got to be like 40 plus years ago now. But these days, you'd be surprised to find one. But like, on the SMB side, 80% of SMBs are still handwriting checks, right? If left to themselves, to their own devices, because they're just so busy trying to build their business, they're not going to improve these processes. So they really need an advisor to lead them on this.
And that is the worst thing when they handwrite checks, because then those of us that are working with the downloaded transactions and we're setting up bank rules and all that stuff, it doesn't pick up the payee name. So you get the check date, the check number, and the amount, but you don't know who it is. So it's totally inefficient. So if you have clients that are still writing checks manually, definitely talk to them about taking care of accounts payable for them and helping, by providing this service for them. If they insist on handwriting manual checks, you charge them more because it takes longer to process it. They should be paying several $100s a month more when they're handwriting checks. Maybe then they'll reconsider. So.
That is such a great point, right? Like when you're taking on manual processes, you should 100%, ignoring AP just for a second, you should 100% charge them more money than your other
clients. They're not going to change. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So we talked about the average cost of invoice processing kind of earlier. And so this is data that actually includes SMBs, mid-market, and enterprise firms. So it's a blended number. So when we talked about those, 86% of SMBs that are dealing with manual processing of invoice or kind of invoice data collection versus I think it was 65% on the enterprise side that are doing it in an automated fashion. Right. So it's a blended number here, but the average cost of invoicing processing is actually over $11. And I think for SMBs is probably north of $15. So you can imagine how that kind of manual, the proverbial gum in the grocery bag situation becomes quite costly, not only for your firm, but also for your clients. And those businesses that are leading, that actually have a great AP process are actually 4.3 times more efficient. So it's basically an order of magnitude lower. You shave down the costs to $2.56 per invoice versus that $11 that we saw in the prior slide. And the only way this really happens, generally speaking, unless we're talking about like the top tier of clients who are very modern, very savvy, is through an advisor-led process. One downside, you have to get the client to buy in, but this is something you do in one fashion or in one way or another when you get them to move to QuickBooks Online or use a new solution. Same idea, takes a bit of practice, you'll get there. But the benefits are huge for your client, for your firm. It creates better processes and business continuity. And we talked about the benefits of better financial visibility, better relationships, and reduced liability, right? So this is by defining the process in a way that makes sense for your firm, it's more cost efficient for the client and it's more cost efficient for your firm.
And Yoseph, I might just add one thing on there, if that's okay. Under needing to get the client buy-in, a lot of times what I've discovered there is if they're reluctant and resistant to change, a lot of times it's just fear of the unknown and not knowing what I'm going to have to do, how it's going to impact me and things like that. A good example of this, I had a client one time, she would pay me to drive over there and help her print her W-2s or 1099s and W-2s at year end. And I finally showed her how I could help her remotely. I sat there in her office with her computer and my computer, and I invited her remotely to show her how I could help her remotely. She's like, wow, it's that easy. But once I showed her how easy it was, then she was all about me helping her remotely. So for the clients, I think if you can show them in an example, look, here's what this looks like. Here's all you have to do. I think if you can hold their hand and show them, you'll get better buy-in faster and easier just by alleviating their fears and concerns, because they're probably not going to want to say, Yoseph, I'm scared I can't do this. I'm scared it's going to take too much time. I'm scared it's going to be too hard. They're just like, I don't want to do it. So I think helping alleviate some of those concerns can really help a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, one of my clients is when I first got to them, they were using desktop and entering everything in one journal entry on a daily basis. We ultimately got them on to QuickBooks Online, And now he wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, he is in Cabo San Lucas right now, managing his company, and they are in the process of selling the company because of the way that we've been able to manipulate the data as it's come in, and stay on top of it.
That's awesome.
It's a great story for them, because they basically bought themselves a job, by becoming the owner of the companies, and now they're living their best life.
That's awesome. So Dan, you're telling me that if I was an advisor and I had clients and I was thinking about offering accounts payable process, I can promise them that they can move to Cabo if they adopt my advisor.
Yeah. Results may vary.
Yeah. That's awesome. Cool. So here's our kind of best practice automated AP workflow. So in the center, you have QuickBooks Online. On the left, you have your invoice and receipt processing. So you're using perhaps a DEX, formerly known as Receipt Bank, or a HubDoc, and you're creating those bills inside of QuickBooks Online. Or you could also use, I think it's like QuickBooks Receipts, or I think there is a solution that is native to QBO. The bills get created in QuickBooks, and then Relay automatically syncs the bills and payees, and it's a two-way sync into your Relay banking account, and we actually make the payments from there. We'll talk about kind of what happens inside that Relay circle, where we centralize your unpaid bills, you have multi-stage approvals, and you get best in class like payment settlement times, and you can pay both individuals as well as businesses. And then once the payments are sent out, we actually not only mark the bill as paid inside of QuickBooks Online, since we are the banking service, we provide a direct bank feed back into QuickBooks that just matches up automatically against that paid bill. So it's one-click reconciliation. It's really slick.
Yeah, and I have yet to see that break. Of course, now that I've said it, I'm sure something's going to happen. But I just had a consultation yesterday where there's another bank. We're not going to name names, but it rhymes with face. Was missing transactions that just didn't connect, and there was a void, and they eventually decided to come in, but they had to reconnect and get those transactions to come in manually. I haven't seen that with the Relay accounts that we've been using.
Yeah, and like the benefit here is that we have a direct integration with QuickBooks Online, so it's not going through a third-party service. And each of our transactions in our backend system have a unique ID. So we never send across duplicate transactions. And we always make sure that we are sending across the right transactions. So it's not only super reliable, but we're also ensuring that the right data is coming across. All right, super quick on Relay. It's business banking that makes bookkeeping easier, faster, and more secure. I almost want to say a better, easier, faster, stronger, or whatever it is.
$6 million bank.
Yeah, exactly. So
we have the technology.
Yeah, we have the technology. We rebuild them. One, we just talked about it, enriched, a reliable bank feed into QuickBooks Online. You actually get enriched data. So, Michelle, you mentioned, hey, if clients are receiving checks, you've got to track down that check data. When a check is deposited into Relay, you actually get that check data in the Relay account. I'll show you that in just a second. You get your own login to access your client banking. So think of it as QBOA or QuickBooks Online Accountant, where you have your own partner portal where you switch between client accounts. You can even manage staff access and control their level of access to client accounts. You get automated AP and approval workflows all baked into the bank account. It's pretty sweet. And then the kicker here is business banking with no account fees, and you get easy expense management with cards for your team. So I am just going to pop.
Now,
I think everyone does want a full demo, but let me just share my screen here. Perfect. So we're gonna jump into Relay, and we'll focus primarily on the AP kind of part of this, but we're going to log in as an advisor here. Cool. So we are Sean McGuire. of our bookkeeping practice here. And so we can switch between client accounts really easy. So we've got Henry's Hat Hut, we've got another client here, and we can manage our staff as well. So we've got our staff member, Gerald. He's our assistant bookkeeper. He's just started with us because he's helping us out. He's got 0 clients that he has access to, but we can easily provision access to one of our client accounts. So we can provision access to Henry's Hat Hut. We can do read-only access. We can even do like bill pay access. The nice thing is anytime someone touches money inside a Relay account, there's an audit trail attached. So we can see that it was Gerald that transferred money between Relay checking account A and Relay checking account B, or made a payment to that vendor or whatever it is. So it's all baked into the process. Cool. Awesome. Lots of great questions already. So I'm keeping those. They're up on my screen. I will get to them. So let's click into a client account. So this is the small business view. You can switch between small business clients really easily as an advisor. So we talked a lot about access to financial information. So you get your own, login. You can manage staff access. You get direct bank feeds. All really easy. The other really cool thing here is when a check is deposited into Relay, you can see all of the key check details. So payer, amount, date, who deposited it, an image of the check, as well as any notes or memos. All this information is passed across into the accounting system. So you can actually, like most people, have Relay up on one screen and QuickBooks Online up on another. Accounts.
Does that check image come in as an attachment, or does it? You just have it separate and you can then attach it yourself?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So you could save this and then attach it yourself because it's a bank feed transaction as opposed to a journal entry. Right. So we're not able to attach documents because most banks struggle to do the basic bank feed correctly.
But do you need to attach it if you've got it available in here?
Yeah, no.
Not really.
I was going to say, I don't think you need to go through saving it and attaching it when you have it in here.
Yeah, like that's it. You can look at the image here and like verify the information if you're worried about it at all. But I think if you do that a couple times, you're going to see that it's like pretty great. Cool. And then so you can have up to 20 checking accounts per business. It's really easy. So these are all different, like, account number and routing numbers. You can name them whatever you want. So if you follow like Profit First or want to be able to budget better or separate funds, really easy. You can pull funds from 100% of US banks. So instead of, when you're talking about perhaps a more traditional bill pay provider, a third-party payment processor, perhaps, one that starts with a B and ends with a .com, where you're talking about, 3 to 5 business days for the funds to come into bill.com, and then you're sending it out. With Relay, you're pulling it across in like 1 business day, and perhaps you're actually already getting your direct deposit sent to Relay anyways, and then you can send out the payment same day or next day. So it's really, really quick. You can manage all statements. You can download them all from here. So it's all really easy. You can do multi-account statement downloads, PDF, CSV, OFX. I'm kind of ripping through this. So if you do have questions, please just raise your hand for a demo and one of our team can spend more time. And then you can issue MasterCard debit cards, really easy. Physical cards, they can be virtual cards. So if you're on the road like Dan and you're like, hey, I don't want to get this thing mailed to me, I just want to spin up a card, I can do that really easily. You can set up limits. You can issue cards to team members and they can only be card holders. They only see the card. All really straightforward. Now, let's get to the main event. So with Relay, there's a bunch of questions here of like, how does Relay compare to like a bill.com? So let's talk about what Relay is. So you've got your kind of Relay standard, which is all the core banking that you see today, even this new payment flow where you can do ACH, domestic wire, international wire checks. You can manage all your payees. You can actually request payee details by email. You can even require a W-9. That's all included in Relay standard. So pretty slick, pretty easy. You can do one-time payments, recurring payments. You can schedule them. Super flexible, built to work the way that you do. So Relay Pro is the product that you would compare to, say, like a bill.com or other alternatives. So 3 things that Relay Pro does really well. 1, we centralize all your unpaid bills into one place. So going back to that idea of like, a business owner is relying on their bank balance, Well, now they can do 2 clicks and see all the bills that they're actually owed, and they can see them with the due date. So I can see what bills do I actually need to pay now. I've got Printing Services Inc. number 3, interesting company name. that is overdue by 6 days, and I can see the invoice number. I can see the amount, and I can see my full list of bills that are outstanding. 2, you get multi-stage approvals. So we can say that we want Dan to approve the bill first, and then Michelle approves it, and then it can be paid. Or we could say that we want Dan and Michelle both to approve the bill, and then I can go ahead and pay it. Or you can even do Dan or Michelle, whoever gets to it first, someone approves it, and then I can pay it. So you get lots of permutations, and you can do it. I think it's like 6 layers deep if you really want to go that deep on approvals. So you have that level of control and flexibility. So what it looks like when a bill comes into Relay is this. So you have the vendor's name, all the key bill details, any supporting documentation that would be available in QuickBooks Online, and then we can go ahead and approve or reject the bill. So really easy. Once this bill is approved, this is what it looks like. So we have an approved bill here, and we can go ahead and initiate payment. I can do batch approvals. I can do batch payments. If you have multiple bills from the same vendor, so let's say Industrious WC, I've got 3 bills from the same vendor, I can actually merge all of those bills into one payment, or I can have them go out as separate payments, whatever is best for you and your vendor. Again, coming back to that idea of built for flexibility around your business. And then let's say I initiate this payment, I send them a same day ACH because I can do that with Relay Pro. I get up to 50 free per day, or per month. Don't quote me on that. You can initiate the payment. We'll go ahead and mark this bill as paid inside of QuickBooks Online. And then once that ACH settles, we'll send across a bank fee transaction that just matches up against that paid bill. So you just click match and you're done. Super easy. And as I mentioned, speed of payments like best in class, multi-stage approvals, and you can pay both businesses and individuals. All really straightforward.
And then this is mostly focused on the sending of money. As far as receiving of money, that's another ballpark altogether, different sport even, right?
That's exactly it. And so one of the other benefits here is that this Relay Pro functionality, so just the centralization of bills, multi-stage approvals, those same day ACHs, that is $30 per business per month. When you add 3 clients, that drops down to $25 per business per month. And so if you're looking at alternatives, say like a bill.com, you're talking about $40 per user per month. So if you just have, it's just me, Dan, and Michelle that are managing these bills, that's you're already talking about $120 a month without all the fees associated with the payments and everything like that. So you're not only getting a better experience, a faster one, and an easier one from a bookkeeping perspective because there's no clearing account, you're also getting a more cost-effective one.
And Yoseph, you said something kind of quickly I wanted to pull out again. You said that you can pay businesses and individuals. And I believe, Dan, you can make sure the QBO bill pay is business to business only. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah. The included one with or the built-in one with Melio is designed for business to business only. So the fact that you can go pay whatever this way through Relay is an added benefit.
And that's good to know because a lot of people do pay individuals as subcontractors or things like that. It might be an individual's name. So I think that's a call out worth mentioning. So that was good.
Absolutely. Cool. I know there's a few Q&A items. Let me just I'll just jump back to the slides. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Perfect.
Go ahead and launch that last poll because there's so much more about what you've shown here. Is almost like from the time that you joined us before and demoed what Relay could do to the time now. I mean, it's just an iceberg, right? I mean, you really need to really dive into what it is that you can do and what Relay really did, because I never thought of a bank being part of my tech stack until until a lot of the problems that are with banking are solved by the, and when we talked before, about the becoming the solution, you just you dove right in and took on a lot of these challenges that you were seeing in the industry.
Yeah, I mean, having worked in accounting tech for a while, like at HubDoc, most of the business that we built there was really around bank statement fetching, just getting access to PDFs. Like we would just literally log into your client's bank account on your behalf and download a PDF and bring it into our software. That's all we were doing, and bringing in check images, right? This is just such a core challenge. And then we were strategic partners, with Intuit, and their number one feature request back then and still like today isn't like better cash flow reporting. It's actually just bank feeds at work. I want to get my data in. I want, financial visibility. It's seemingly not a tall order, but at the same time it is. And that's exactly where this came from. It's like, what if you had a bank that was like deeply integrated into the back office? Could you increase financial visibility and make business owners more successful? And I think the answer is, yes, please. I would like an in-depth demo of Relay.
Yeah, I mean, most people don't go looking for a new bank until they get a point of frustration, right? It's a grudge purchase. But when you have a solution to offer them, as part of something to do in concurrent with their current, thank you, conjunction. That's the word I was with their current bank, and then they realize, oh, this bank is way better. How easy it is to transition.
And Yoseph, a couple of really quick questions. Does it work with QB Desktop?
You can download like a CSV and get the banking information into QBD through that. We don't do the Relay Pro functionality with QBD.
Okay. And the 1099 reporting, is that still done through QBO?
Exactly. So we're just requiring the W-9, or you have the option to require the W-9 from the payee, the vendor that you want to pay.
And do the checks clear on the client's bank account or the Relay bank account? I think you mentioned that, but
checks on
can you clear? Where does the check come from? Client's bank?
Are we talking about
a payment?
A payment, an incoming payment or an outgoing payment?
Outgoing.
Yep. So let's say Michelle, I'm going to send you a check through Relay for $1,000, and I have a $10,000 balance. So I would enter your details, enter your address, and Relay would mail out the check for $1,000. My balance would be immediately debited. So I go from $10,000 down to $9,000 because we sent you $1,000, and then you would deposit that check, and it would get cashed there, and that's where it would be cleared.
Okay, so there's not a clearing account like you had mentioned that some others use.
Exactly, you got
Gotcha.
it.
Thank you. Okay. And then we did have some questions about, and I don't know if this is a question or an idea for you. Does Relay alert you when a recurring monthly bill was not received? Let's say the water bill. You always have it every month and you didn't get it this month. This would be a great AI feature of a bill pay app.
We don't do this. I love this idea. It's actually the reason why, and we didn't touch on this today, but like when you do a card transaction on Relay, we enrich all of that data. So you get like category information, you get the location, you get nice, neat vendor names so they don't break your bank rules, is because we want to be able to provide like kind of smart advice like this to notice patterns. So it's a great idea. I can't wait till we can actually do that.
Awesome.
With some of the other sending, receiving payments this way, I get harassed about paying for the money faster. Is that, do you do that? Does Relay do that, or is it more of a subtle thing? I mean, I get more notifications to pay them to get it faster than I do actually that I'm getting money at all.
So sorry, this is like from the merchant account.
Yeah. Or where the money's coming from.
Right.
They'll say, well, you can get it now.
Yeah,
for a small fee.
Right. There's always that asterisk. I think the idea of, the way we've approached AP is to allow for very fast payments, right? We have no interest in holding on to your money. You use your money how you want to hold on, how you want to move it. And when we move across to the AR or income side, that is the same mindset that we will take.
We do have a request if you can go over the costs again.
Yeah, so with Relay, it's like no account fees, no minimum balances. All of the core banking is free. That Relay Pro, so that's the centralization of unpaid bills from QBO, the multi-stage approvals, and the 50 free same-day ACHs per month for $30 per business. So it's per business, not per user, which is what most charge. So per business. And then when you add 3 clients, that drops down to $25 per business per month. And that doesn't have to be 3 clients on Relay Pro. That could just be 3 clients. And then of course you get wholesale discount pricing beyond that.
And when you go over the allotted ones, so when you are doing 50 per day, what is the cost?
Yeah, so I would love to have a private conversation with that. I'm sure that we built in the ability to do like custom pricing. So if you have needs beyond what we've mentioned, you do get free next day ACH. So you can have as many of those as you would like. You can also do domestic wires, but if you would prefer a bundle that'd be perhaps more customized to your business, feel free to reach out to us. And also, if you do want to schedule a demo straight away, one of our team is going to mention, Mattis is going to post this link in the chat. One thing I want to talk about is we went through a bunch of content today. I know that when I go through these webinars or listen to them, I'm like, oh, that was so great. And then you go off and do the rest of your work and you're like, okay, I remember some of this stuff. So we'll post a link to this ebook, which covers everything and way, way more. We go way deeper. And if you are interested in our partner program, there'll be a link as well in there. Thank you so much. Thank you both Michelle and Dan for having us on.
Well, thank you, Yoseph. And yeah, I was going to bring up that ebook because it is a valuable resource as well as your partner program, because they also have some resources in the last few slides here that we didn't have time to get to. They've got great ways for you to help pitch these accounts payable services to your clients. How do I talk to clients or potential clients about this so that you can grow your practice by providing these services? So check out those slides at the end and make sure you check out that ebook there, because I think, Yoseph, I appreciate you coming. I think this is a great opportunity for us accountants and bookkeepers. And it's always kind of great when you can see what others have done and where some of the gaps are and where you can improve upon it and to build a better mousetrap. And I think you guys have done that with Relay. So I think it's awesome. And I'm glad you joined us again today.
Sweet. It was great to be here.
Yes. So thank you again for joining us. We did run a few minutes over on the hour. So for those of you that stuck around, we really appreciate that. So join us next time when we talk about the enhanced reporting features inside of QuickBooks Online Advanced with Hector. Finally, I did confirm he did put it on his calendar. So, so he won't be kicking it down the curb this time.
Very good. And also continue the conversation on the QB Power Hour Facebook group, where if you didn't get your questions answered today, you can ask them there. And you can also reach out, and Yoseph and his team will help you with whatever questions you have.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for joining us. We'll see you next time on the QB Power Hour.
Bye. Thanks, everybody.
We hope you enjoyed listening to the QB Power Hour podcast. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in our Facebook group. You can find those resources and much more at qbpowerhour.com.